hold on to your passion and belief in yourself that you can actually come up with the solution, because there's going to be a lot of challenges along the path. And if you hold that belief and that passion, it will translate into action. It will translate in your words. It will come across in your meetings. That's what you're wanting, that je ne sais quoi, that nuanced feeling from the inventor, from the entrepreneur saying, yes, I've got this. I know what I'm doing, and it's going to be amazing.
Hello, everybody. Today we meet an amazing woman from Australia. She has 20 years of experience in developing or helping to develop innovative products. And based on her experience, she wrote the book, Redefining Return of Investment. It's all about innovation strategy in digital era. Please meet Amy-Renee Hovorka.
Thank you so much for that warm welcome, Leon. That was very beautiful. So
great to have, thank you. Great to have you on my podcast. And my podcast is about innovation, and I usually invite people having a huge experience in developing something and who wrote some books or wrote something about experience to teach others and to share their experience. So could you tell me a little bit more about your experience in innovation and how do you see the innovation today?
Well, that's a really great question. So my innovation runs through my blood, and I've also got a procurement background. So what that does is it explains how I've been able to value innovation. Because in procurement, what you do is you're trying to determine if a company is the right company to work with, and you're trying to evaluate intangibles a lot of the time. And so I've taken that same methodology, same mindset of valuing intangibles and applied it to innovation and structured it into a 12 dimensions of innovation and an innovation quotient. So what I believe is happening at the moment is innovation is moving at lightning speed. It's not a matter of if you're innovating or if you're keeping up with it. It's what's going to be the one that takes over. We're talking about AI taking over people's jobs and all of that, but it's not going to happen overnight. It is going to happen in a steady, incremental way, and we will see it coming. But it's all about companies who are now able to take advantage of that agility, that organizational agility, to jump on that innovation bandwagon and actually innovate from their hearts, not just because they need to survive. So actually coming up with a different way of approaching it. The 12 dimensions of innovation, it is a structured program. So what it does, in a nutshell, is how innovative your idea is can be across these 12 dimensions. And each dimension is defined in a way so that you understand what the sub-aspects are of that dimension. Now, if you change or improve one of those sub-aspects, you're doing continuous improvement. If you change two of those sub-aspects in one of the dimensions, then you're doing innovation. And if you change three of them, then that looks like an invention. And that's the basis, the methodology.
Wow. And I Well, I am an innovator as well, so I develop a unique device, world first. And always I was thinking about what's the difference between innovation and optimization in application? Because, most of the companies, they optimize stuff. So I built something today, take the Apple, they don't innovate anymore. They optimize what they innovated before. So what's the difference? And what I see for many companies, they just stop innovate and they start to optimize. And what I expect, they will lose their market very soon because of it. What do you think about it?
Well, they're looking at obsolescence. It's just how long it's going to take them. And optimizing is a way of slowing down obsolescence. It is, because you're sort of treading water, you're staying above the curve, you may be taking on slight improvements. It could be that continuous improvement area. So they're developing one aspect. But then when you look at it, there's a whole gamut of, so there's 12 different dimensions that they could be innovating in, and they're optimizing just one, which is the product evolution. It could be how it functions, and they're missing out on all this other opportunity. Now, they don't know that because innovation has always been very nebulous, very arts associated, more art than science. And so what I'm trying to do is use the terminology that we have that exists, which is continuous improvement, innovation, and invention, and bring some structure and meaning around it so that we can actually understand what it means to evolve from a continuous improvement to an innovation. What is the investment that's required to make that move, and how many dollars are you going to spend per point of innovation? Then so you have a whole nother discussion. You can have a discussion around, well, what are your strengths and weaknesses in terms of innovation and the 12 dimensions, and where are areas where you may be weak. And that might be, okay, you could leave them, or that's a massive opportunity to expand out.
Yeah, right. And what I observed, that yes, good companies, good startups, they start from innovative product, innovation. But actually, on the road on the growing journey, they just lose innovation and start to improve the stuff, so improvement. And it's very difficult to get back to innovation if you are constantly working on improvement of the product, because innovation is like spark, right? And then you have it. Maybe you have it once in your life, and then you start to piggyback on all these what you created, and it stops innovation actually. So where are these, I don't know, these great point where people stop innovative and move to just improvement of the product just on the sake of making money or something like this. More money, more margin.
That's one of the challenges, right? When, particularly for investors, when you're dealing with startups and entrepreneurs, they come across and they have the most innovative ideas, but then through the execution, they've lost the elements of innovation that made them such a great idea in the first place. But it's difficult to track that loss of knowledge and capability that has been just through evolution. It's disappeared. And so what I'm offering is a way of measuring that at the beginning, saying, look, this is our baseline. This is the innovation we're coming in with, whether it be, okay, we're breakthroughing this one in product evolution. It may be breakthrough, so it's an invention, but then they have brand magnetism, and they've got invention in brand magnetism, and customer experiences of innovation. So it makes up a suite of the 12 dimensions, makes up the full picture. And what you then do is you protect that, or you understand if you have to make a decision at some point during the execution that changes the parameters by which you're now working with, then you can reevaluate that company and say they've lost that innovative edge that they had, that breakthrough edge. It's now down to innovation. Are we still wanting to invest this much because of the points have changed? And you can do a value for money assessment. So how many points of innovation do you need to have to invest? It changes the conversation to one where it's more transparent and measurable.
It's a very interesting approach, angle. And so if, for example, my startup is doing something that improve, I don't know, saving time or improve some development, improve services for 10, 20, even 30%. Can these be considered like innovative approach, or it's just improvement or optimization? So where are these line between improving and optimization? Because, investors, I'm an investor as well, I'm venture capitalist, and I'm looking for something that brings 10 times better to the market, 10 times. This is what I'm looking for, because I'm not interested in 20, 30% of improvement, because it's when this product will be ready, this will happen already in the market. So, but if you do something 10 times better, it's very difficult to do something like this, and you have some time credit, 2-3 years to get to the market. So what is your approach when you talk to your clients and when you think about innovation and you see that, okay, this product on this company, by innovation, I can improve their outcome by 30%. And for this company, for 100%. So what you consider like innovative approach that really works?
So it comes back to the methodology again. So if you're looking at one aspect and you're only improving one aspect, and innovation starts with an improvement. It is defined as an improvement for your beneficiary, and your beneficiary is defined at different stages throughout the innovation life cycle, who's actually benefiting from the innovation. But so it is an improvement, it starts that way. But if you're doing one dimension, say you have your wearable technology, and that for its time, and this is the important thing, is it has to be time bound, because you have to understand where it was as at this date, how innovative it was as at this date compared to what was available in the market. Because you want to benchmark.
So what is it innovation?
What is innovation?
What is it innovation? I'm sure people... okay. Please, yeah. Please go on.
It's an improvement in any of the 12 dimensions.
What is it, 12 dimensions?
Beneficiaries. The 12 dimensions,
yes.
Just listing them off. It starts with customer experience, channel navigation, brand magnetism, service excellence, product evolution. Then you go into your internal processes. So you have process optimization and organizational agility. Then you move into your strategic categories, which is just a mental blank. But so if you're doing collaboration, so collaboration synergies, value creation engine, talking about how you create value, what your model is for creating value. Then you've also got sustainable future. So looking at sustainability of the innovation and the product or the service, data intelligence, and a financial imperative. Now, financial imperative is an interesting one. It's often left off. But if you don't have the financial structure to back up your innovation, it doesn't matter what you have. If you don't have the finances to back it up and a strategic alignment there, it won't work. So financial imperative is important.
Yeah. So actually, if I don't apply almost all these 12 dimensions, I cannot come up with good innovation or implement this innovation, right? So I have to consider all these dimensions.
You don't have to do all of them at once. The more you have, the hotter your idea is. So the more elements of those dimensions that you have, the higher the IQ score will be. But it at least has to be considered, like that they've been considered, but you don't have to innovate in all of them or have continuous improvement in all of them.
So if I want to innovate, I have some idea, and I just, like any common guy, I just think, okay, I have great idea, I have great technology, so I'm going to raise capital, I'm going to make the product, I'm going to learn go-to-market strategy, market product seed, A/B test, prototype, all this around. This is what I know what to do, like entrepreneur, okay? And what left in my approach, that will stop me to really implement my product like innovative product?
What's left that would stop you?
Yes. So, you're working with entrepreneurs, right? And from your experience, because I understand things like I understand, like I explain now. And usually what stops them from implementing these? What absent in their approach, comparing to the benchmark, that is your 12 dimensions. So it could be benchmark for them. So what's usually left, and it's the next question, how you help entrepreneurs to fill up this void?
So because there isn't a vernacular, there's not a language at the moment to talk about innovation, what's lacking is an understanding sometimes of how innovative their idea is. That they may actually be presenting something that is an invention, and it needs a more risk-based approach. It needs more time to implement, probably educating the market. Downplaying and underestimating how innovative ideas are is actually one of the reasons that they can fail, is because they just don't have that wherefore to put it in so it is an invention in that dimension.
Very interesting. So what step you ask your founders and your entrepreneurs to implement to make it actually working?
So what I ask them to do is basically baseline what their invention is about, or their innovation.
So you start from baseline, right?
Start with baseline. So
sorry. So guys, this is a playbook, how to innovate. Start from the baseline.
Definitely. Start with the baseline and establish it strong. So what about that product or service is different? What about that is doing things differently? Is it, let's say, brand magnetism? Is it how they're putting out their relationship with their customers in a way that the customer really feels the product or service?
So it's a perception, product perception, we call it, yeah?
Yeah, so that's brand magnetism, and that's an area of innovation. where and it has steps that you can follow. It is a playbook. It does have steps you can follow. And if you're not doing brand magnetism, then you can go look up the different aspects and turn around and go, okay, well, this is what I could be doing better. So once you start with your baseline, then you have a look at what are your opportunities? What are your strengths and weaknesses? What are your opportunities? And what are you presenting? So be really clear and know what it is that is innovative about your good or service that you're taking to investors to buy into, because that's what you want to keep golden, true, all the way through.
Okay, so we start from the baseline and we go through different steps that actually finally create some ecosystem, innovation ecosystem around. So let's talk about holistic approach. So we understand now steps. We understand that we have some benchmark, how it looks like real innovation, true innovation. And now the next step to build the ecosystem, innovative ecosystem. I mean to teach the team of the company, to teach your clients, to teach your suppliers about your values, and stakeholders usually are part of ecosystem as well. So how to implement your approach to build innovative ecosystem around your playbook or using your playbook?
Yeah, absolutely. So you do want to build that ecosystem, because when you do that, you're recognizing that you're taking everyone on a journey with you, on that innovation journey. And so you might have to educate some stakeholders. You may have to educate some, like if you're using a new methodology and what you're presenting is innovation, invention, you're definitely going to have to take people on the journey and educate your stakeholders. So for example, I'm presenting a new methodology. I'm going to need to educate my stakeholders. So that's invention in that methodology, in that product. But what you're asking there is the ecosystem is how do you create that ecosystem and collect it in? Well, it's actually easier, because once you've measured a baseline, you know what is innovative about your idea. It makes it easier to collaborate with other people, because when collaboration often falls apart because people don't have a way of identifying what their contributing factor was. But if you have a baseline and a measurement and a value, and someone comes along and says, you know what, that's really good, but it would be great if we bolted on this dimension here, then you can measure how much contribution they've made to the whole innovative nature of that product or service. So it now makes collaboration tangible. And then you can have, so it's once again, it's just trying to come back to making those intangibles and those ecosystems and the things that kind of are there but aren't quite, just more tangible and measurable.
Yes. And how you overcome resistance to change?
That's a really great one. How do you overcome resistance to change? Because when you're looking at anything in innovation and invention, you're looking at change. Continuous improvement is pretty recognized. It's changing one thing. It's not too difficult, and it shouldn't rock anyone's boat. Yeah. But as soon as you're doing innovation and invention, you're dealing with change.
It's abrupt change.
You are going to experience resistance to change. But hopefully this gives you another tool to explain why people need to go on the journey with you.
Is there any technique how to explain how to suppress this resistance? Not suppress, how to convince people to participate in this abrupt change?
Well, yes, because you're talking about what the change is going to achieve, that what the investment of that change is going to be. You're having the conversation about that change, that innovation, that invention. So while you're having the focus there, I believe that you can work with resistance to change a lot more. I don't have the silver bullet though. I'm sorry. I haven't got that one yet. I'll put that in my brain and get the little propeller going and see if I come up with something, because I like how you're thinking.
Yeah. So what I understand, that emotional component of innovation is very important, because as you know, we have two components, emotional and material. And emotional component, this is exactly how to deal with this resistance, and how to convince, what kind of tone you have to use, what kind of convincing tools you have to apply, how to avoid pressure. So I think this is very important. And how did you wrote about this in your book or playbook? Because if you're working with, and I know you're working with management, with CEOs, right? So they have to know how exactly to piggyback on these emotional components. People decide based on their emotions, not on the logics. So logic just justifies their decision making or their decision. So how do you teach your or mentor your CEOs, your management, to apply this emotional component?
Yeah, that's a really great point you've brought up. And empathy is fundamental when you're talking about the customer journey, when you're talking about brand magnetism, having empathy for your client, for your customer. Now, I've developed an empathy scale before, which was basically just positive emotions, negative emotions, and what's the difference between it. So you can value the emotions. It went from 0 to negative emotions to -12 to positive emotions +12. And it was like a spiral. And so when you're wanting to move somebody from a frustrated emotion and you want to move them to a happy customer, how many points of differentiation are you moving them? That's your change management approach. And you actually want to step them through each step. Or if you want to take a leap, you need to know how you're taking that leap and what you're building that on. So empathy scales, once again, measuring and quantifying it, coming back to breaking it down into its core components and being able to measure it is really key.
Yes. And behind any innovation or new innovative product development, it's very important to change operation processes in the company. And do you have such a specific approach and experience with your clients? How did you do it together, step by step, to adapt operational processes to a new reality?
Well, yeah, taking them on a new reality. So this kind of touches on the existential innovator, which is where I've taken a different approach. And existentialism, if you've studied philosophy, so you would know, but existentialism is where it's Nietzsche and Kierkegaard, and they talk about you basically go through a process of challenging everything that has been the foundation of your existence, and big questions like, who am I? Why am I here? What is my purpose? What legacy am I meant to leave? And this changes the whole conversation from one of change and change happening to me to one where you can really lean into and have courage. And courage is one of the key characteristics that you actually need to develop as an inventor, as an innovator, to lean in with curiosity and courage and the want to evolve things and do things differently. So the personal approach that actually somebody goes through when they're doing an innovation like when they're coming up with a new innovation, the outward innovation approach and the inward journey are mirroring each other. And it's actually a transformative experience.
Yes. And what do you think, where it's easy to implement innovation? Like a new startup, a new company where you build everything from the scratch and you can just start to build innovative culture just from the baseline, or when you are working with big companies or corporations who need to innovate, and it's a big problem for them to innovate because they just cannot overcome resistance and all these very well developed processes. So where it's easy whom it's easy to work with? Young entrepreneurs who start from the zero, from the scratch, and to change something in a big corporation.
Well, no matter which one you are, you're going to change something in big corporations. Whether you're intentionally, if you're in a startup, you're on the outside, right?
Yeah.
So you're an entrepreneur. You've got to develop everything to get back into the inside where your products and services are being used. Now, the clients of your products and services, they're going to go on a changed journey. They need to become aware of them for starts. And this is where procurement as a function is really important, because they're the ones who bring innovative ideas into a company. They're the gatekeeper. And so they have to be equipped with this innovation knowledge so that they can bring it in. So there's the evolution of companies themselves. Is it easier to be a startup and go forward with a brilliant idea, or be an entrepreneur within an organization with a brilliant idea? It depends on who's got the burning platform and the passion. And that passion doesn't die. That entrepreneurial spirit, that stays with that person. They may have several things in the bottom drawer that they've put there because they didn't quite work in the right timing or whatever it is, but that passion never dies. And I think it's actually easier to do it within an organization, just because you can have that system and that ecosystem around you a lot quicker and easier, and you're not trying to prove yourself in. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you have to prove yourself in every regard. You have to prove your idea is worthy, that you are worthy, that you have sound financial thought process. You're constantly proving yourself along that journey. And sometimes when entrepreneurs are constantly trying to convince people that their vision is right, they can lose a little bit of the vision in that process.
Yes, it happens many times. It happened to me once. Wow, thank you very much. It was very interesting conversation. Do you have any examples? So just your recent example, how did you change in corporation that really impacted their return of investment and make them much better business?
I have examples of doing financial imperative innovation and really changing a business's revenue and its share price. So, and it really was innovation. So, while I was working with Ampol, so that was Caltex back then, but it's Ampol now, we were doing an assessment of all of their spend categories, all of their business, how it runs, and coming up with better and different ways to approach their supplier market. And what we did was we developed a plan that would save them $100 million over 3 years. And so that lifted their share price by 15%. And that's just an example of how cost innovation or financial imperative innovation can really transform things as well.
Okay, we do have time to touch, unfortunately, innovation or your playbook for different industries, because as I understand, for different industries, this is different. So financial innovation is slightly different from supply chain innovation or from product innovation, marketing innovation, business model innovation. All these are very important, specifically for founders, because I represent founders here, and my audience usually are founders and investors, so not big corporations. And this is very important how to innovate in business models specifically, because today the unique insight of the company belongs to how they approach to their business model, because this is what really make different for the company. And it's very difficult to innovate in business model, because there is some sustainable proof of sustainable business models, right? Like subscription, like one-time sales, based on saving money, based on saving time. So everything is same, and startups pitch me, and I always expect maybe they come up with something new, something more interesting in business model, and usually they don't. So I think these aspects, how to innovate in some intangible things, that's very important, because we know how to innovate in tangible things. And I think this is a subject of another meeting and another conversation that I really enjoy very much. So maybe you have some recommendation, suggestion, or something to say to young entrepreneurs who just getting started, what they have to do, how to keep innovative mindset through their journey.
Hold on to your passion and belief in yourself that you can actually come up with the solution, because there's going to be a lot of challenges along the path. And if you hold that belief and that passion, it will translate into action. It will translate in your words. It will come across in your meetings. That's what you're wanting, that je ne sais quoi, that nuanced feeling from the inventor, from the entrepreneur, saying, yes, I've got this. I know what I'm doing, and it's going to be amazing.
Oh, thank you very much. It's really very interesting recommendation, I would say. Where can we find you in internet? Amazon, I understand. Amazon, LinkedIn. Where are you in internet?
I'm in LinkedIn. I'm easy to find, so it's Amy-Renee Hovorka, and Amazon has my 10 different books.
10 different books. Wow. 10 books.
Yeah, and growing, because I'm writing one for each industry. So there's nothing like talking about innovation and it all being very nebulous and hard to bed down. So what I'm doing is I'm writing the playbook for each industry so they can have examples that they can feel close to and that are directly relatable.
Yeah, this is the subject of our next conversation. Thank you very much, Amy. And today we had an amazing discussion with Amy-Renee Hovorka, who wrote 10 different books, playbooks about how to innovate. She is an innovation expert, one of the best innovation experts, and she is from Australia. Thank you very much, Amy, and I hope to see you next time on my podcast.
Thank you very much, Leon. I hope so too.